All right, hot shot. I got a question for you. You're at pick number 6. Ain't no one willing to move up. Offensive lineman you wanted was off the board. Caleb Downs is still there, or Arvell Reese is still there. What do you do? What do you do, Tone? You don't need to answer that right now. Dane Brugler does. He's from The Athletic, senior NFL draft analyst, local guy. We love our local guys. He's on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline. Dane, how the hell are you?
The great Dennis Hopper impersonation. I loved it. Look, this is draft season, so I'm glad we're having these talks. We're having these conversations because that's what the Browns are talking about right now. They're going through scenarios. They just got done with draft meetings, so you have your preliminary board to go into the combine with some frame of reference of, okay, this is how we're going to stack these players, these positions, and we'll see what happens in Indy, how that might change after we leave Indianapolis. But yeah, this is a big part of the process. This is a big step.
So one of the things that I'm thinking of here, and I just threw that out towards you there because, Dane, I got a weird sneaking suspicion. A lot of people have been down on this draft, and we're early, so business is about to pick up. But let me play it out the scenario now. It's night one, first round, pick 6 is there. Ain't no one willing to move up with you, and that best player on the available is Caleb Downs. And Caleb Downs, it softens the blow that he's from Ohio State, clearly. Mm-hmm. What do you think it's going to be the reaction? Because all of us are like, boy, they need offense, they need offense, they need offense, they need offense. Okay, well, you still only won 5 games. Are we really still doing the whole need versus best player available thing? What do you do, Dane?
Yeah, I think it's a worthy debate because on one hand, I firmly believe in taking best player available when you're drafting the top 10. You need to draft. The needs change week to week, year to year. Like you can't guess what the roster is going to look like. Half the year or half the season into the 2026 season, with this team specifically, it just feels like. And obviously, the defense wasn't the problem. And does Caleb Downs upgrade your defense? No question. He not only what he brings to the field, but what he brings to the locker room and just that type of presence. And that's something that would make the team better, make the organization better. But this team is just so it's struggling on offense in such a big way that it is hard to see them not go in that direction. And I think it comes down to what is the gap between a guy like Caleb Downs and your highest graded offensive player, whether it's a receiver or offensive lineman. What is the gap between those two? If the gap is, a decent sized gap, then I think you have to go Caleb Downs. You have to go with the best player on your board and stay true to that. If it's close, then I think you look at your offensive line, you look at wide receiver, and I think that's because it's not just best player available, it's who's going to make the most impact for your team. And for this Browns team specifically, they're so void of talent on the offensive side of the ball that they would almost have to lean in that direction if the grades are even somewhat close.
Right now, there's 2 offensive linemen that people continue to talk about for the Browns. Has one been able to distinguish themselves to you?
I think they're both worthy of being top 10 picks. I think Francis Mauigoa, there are several teams in the league that have him on the board as a guard. And I think he's one of those guys that could stay outside at tackle. There's nothing on his tape that says he can't play tackle. But you look at his skill set and his strengths to what he does, and it's like, okay, if we move inside the guard, we've got maybe an all-pro guard. He's that good. And just the way that a move to guard would accentuate his strengths and the way that he's going to continue to develop at the next level, the way his body is built. We'll see what his arm length is at the combine. A scout told me it's kind of right at 33, so kind of right at that cutoff. But obviously we'll get the verified measurements at the combine. Fano is, and I think it's important to point out that neither of these guys are Joe Alt. They're not maybe the prototypical left tackle. They're very different with both being right tackles, and they have differing skill sets and what the strengths are. They're both very young. And I think that Vega Ioane from Penn State is in that discussion as well. I think you can make the easy argument. He is the best offensive lineman in the class. Of course, he's a guard, and it's a little, you have to stomach taking a guard in the top 10. But if we're just talking best player available, he's in that conversation as well in terms of the top offensive linemen in this class.
So another one that I wanted to bring up with you, this 6'7" Zeus, Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. He's a name that's been picking up on some of the stuff online here over the last couple of days. You got that pick number 24 there. Could he be there at 24 for the Browns? Because, I think a lot of people go, oh, God, left tackle body. We need a left tackle like crazy, no matter who plays the position. Maybe he could be a slam dunk for us.
I'd be surprised if he made it that far. It's funny. I included him in my mock draft back in December, and I received a lot of who, and now it's like people are kind of getting eyes on him and realizing, yeah, this guy's pretty good. He's just young, but you see how he got better throughout the season for Georgia at left tackle. The body control is awesome. The way he's built, really good quickness. He can redirect really easily. He's got the big, strong hands. He can thud at contact. So it's just more of a experience thing for him. He's an upright guy. Just make sure he is winning with leverage. He can get beaten by late movement at times. So it's just more of a give him more reps type of thing. If he went back to Georgia, we'd probably be talking about him as a top 10 lock in next year's class. But, he's in this class. And so there's a little bit more projection involved with him. So I think bumps along the road should be expected. But the talent is awesome. And again, you look at the trajectory and where he's headed. When you forecast 2-3 years down the road, I think it's easy to get excited about where he's headed. So I'd be pretty surprised if he was there. I'd be surprised if he made it outside the top 20. To be honest, there's too many teams with needs on the offensive line, and this is a decent offensive tackle class. It's just they're all going to go kind of in that first round, and then there's a little bit of a drop-off.
All right. Ty Simpson, if he's there at 24, would you take him if you were the Browns?
No. I like Ty. I just feel like instead of just throwing darts, you need to really have an answer here at quarterback. And maybe he blows you away in the interview process. Maybe, the way that, he's able to acquit himself at the combine and pro day and personal workouts and 30 visits, maybe that'll be enough for some teams. But as much as I do like him, we're talking about a guy with 15 starts, coming on, not the biggest guy, coming off a season where he was injured multiple times. Tough as all heck. I mean, he played through a lot of it, but we're still talking about a small sample size and a player that you are betting on more of the mental aptitude rather than the physical traits. The physical traits are okay. They're fine. They're good enough. But we're not talking about, a Drake May or a Jaden Daniels where they have kind of that distinguishing trait with their athleticism and, their ability to throw the ball anywhere they want on the field. Ty Simpson's a guy that wins more with pocket movement, the way he can read out the field. But still, there's a lot he hasn't seen with only 15 career starts. And so I think this is a team that instead of just throwing darts, use your premium resources to build this roster. And then, fully understanding you're going to take your lumps this year without a true answer at quarterback, and then kind of reassess after this year and try to come up with a better solution for what your quarterback position looks like.
Dane Brugler with us. Dane, how many first-round grades did you have for quarterbacks last year, and how many do you have this year?
It was just Cam Ward last year, and even Cam was kind of on the bubble there because he was so talented, but is again a lot of projection. Would he be able to take care of the football consistently? This year, it's similar. It's Fernando Mendoza. That's the only true first round grade, and I've been saying this since November. I have very similar grades on Mendoza and Cam Ward. They're different quarterbacks in their play style and the way they operate. But in terms of what you expect from them, can they grow to be the 12th best quarterback in the NFL? I think that's a realistic projection for them. And that's exactly what you want if you're a team picking in the top 5, a guy that's going to help compete for the playoffs, help compete for the division, and be one of the top 12 players at their position at the NFL level. That's what you want in a number 1 overall pick. And so last year, the Browns saw it as a one quarterback draft this year. I think it'll be kind of similar with Mendoza going 1 to the Raiders. And, you know, I like I said, I like Ty Simpson. I do like Garrett Nussmeier, but there's enough about their profiles that give you enough pause that unless one of them were to fall a little bit further, I would have a tough time drafting them if I'm the Browns.
So you would pass up in general all the guys if you're the Browns?
It would have to. If I'm the Browns, this roster just needs so much help. I mean, we went how long without a top 50 pick, and so that's showing up right now with you need a brand new offensive line. You know, you don't have enough talent at the wide receiver position. I mean, I know I don't have to tell you guys as a Browns fans this, like, it's just so void of talent in some key areas that, yeah, I want to chase the quarterback because I don't think the long-term answer is currently on this roster. But at the same time, I'm also need to be cognizant of the fact that it doesn't matter who the quarterback is if you don't have talent around him. And so I'm not going to pass on a quarterback if I feel like, hey, this is a top 15 quarterback in the league. But I'm also just not going to throw darts and hope I hit on one if I'm not convinced he is one of those guys.
How tough of an evaluation was it for somebody like Carnell Tate this year, who was not the number one? Typically, when we're talking about first-round wide receivers, we're talking about, you know, the best player on their team or the best wide receiver on their team.
Yeah, and I honestly, I'm more encouraged than anything with Tate's profile, just because I mean, I think going into watching Ohio State last year in 2024, you know, like obviously Jeremiah Smith was the sensation as a freshman, and Emeka Egbuka was awesome. Tate was more of the, hey, former 5-star guy who, you know, it's good to see him out there, you know, but I don't think anybody saw him as this guy's a lock top 10 pick, or he's going to be a future number one in the NFL. I don't think we were quite there yet. We hadn't seen it. So the strides that he took every year where, okay, now 2025, you have a chance to be the guy. And yes, did he draw a lot of one-on-one coverage looks because of the gravitational pull to Jeremiah? Yeah, that is part of it. But he received a lot of attention himself, and just how skilled he is as a route runner. You know, I think you see his size and you think, oh, he's a ball winner. You know, he's going to go downfield and just moss guys with his ability to use his vertical and catch the ball over DBs, and he does do that. But he is very skilled as a route runner, and that's something that comes through hard work and preparation and a lot of studying to understand what it takes to win at the position. So if you're looking for that long, technically proficient receiver who can win at all three levels, he has tracking skills, has catching radius. Yeah, I mean, that's Carnell Tate. And so, you know, if you're going to bet on one of these receivers, to me, Tate's the one that, okay, I need a Z, I need a guy with Pro Bowl upside. That's Tate.
A lot of fans are going to – Dane Brugler joining us from The Athletic on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Right hotline. A lot of people are going to tune in and watch the Combine. It's guys working out. What should we really be looking for? It's a TV presentation, but if there's anything that they can actually see, what should it be?
I think that watching these guys go in repetition is a great reference point. So Spencer Fano and Monroe Freeling, two really good offensive tackles in this class, they're going to be going almost back-to-back in their workouts. And so seeing how one moves and then comparing it to the next guy, that's really helpful just to see how – and maybe it's not as simple as, oh, this guy moves a little bit better, so he's a better player, but just to understand their strengths and weaknesses. Are they a little stiff in their lower body? You know, what does the body control look like? And it's different in every position. Obviously, if for corners, you want to see the back pedal. You want to see how quickly they can transition, burst out, and make a play on the ball. Receivers, can they track the ball over their shoulder and finish those catches? Quarterbacks, obviously, with throws to the sideline and just the pacing and the placement. So I think there's something to pick up with all of these guys, regardless of the position. Me personally, it's the biggest week of the year. Just being in Indianapolis on the ground, talking to all these players, talking to all the scouts. It's a great way to kind of fill in the gaps because most of the evaluations are done. It's more of just filling in the gaps about, okay, we didn't know this. We need context on this situation, things like that. But for those watching on TV and seeing the drills, the 40 is what's going to wow people. That's what gets the headlines. Brennan Thompson, the Mississippi State receiver, I think has got a legit chance to set the new combine record in the 40. He should be in the 4.2s somewhere. But I think overall, when you watch position drills, watching these guys go back to back and just understanding their strengths, that's what I think the value is.
Find him on Twitter at DP Brugler. He is one of the finest that you're ever going to find, and a local guy as well. He covers the NFL draft for The Athletic. Dane, thank you very much for the time.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
He's on the Make It Right, Call Kyle Wright hotline.